Hello folks, Chef Anthony here. Welcome to my office next door to my English kitchen. It's a slightly different topic for you today. I want to talk about travel, which often goes along with food and wines, those of us who appreciate them and want to try them in situ. This conversation has to do with the German airline Lufthansa, and we'll come back to them in a little bit. But first, I should tell you just very quickly, when I was still working, I had offices in the United States, Canada, London, South Africa, Hong Kong, Sydney, and New Zealand. I also travelled quite a bit around Southeast Asia. And back in those days, I travelled business and first class globally. And on a couple of years, I actually hit 600,000 miles, actual air miles. So I do understand airlines, and I'm not a newbie when it comes to flying. I tell you that not to brag, but just to understand I have a lot of air miles under my belt. So the Sous Chef and I have been using Lufthansa to fly us from our home airport in the UK. It's not Heathrow. And we've found them, frankly, to be congenitally late, up to about 30 minutes, which isn't a disaster because we're not one of the sorts of people that put very short switchovers in our flight arrangements. But other than that, I have to say, we had a great experience with them. The cabin staff and Lufthansa staff have always been friendly, efficient. The cabin service has been great. The food's been good. I could tell you I really don't care for the way European airlines on their 737s and Airbus 320 series arrange their seats, which is basically 3 coach seats with an empty one in the middle. But there's enough leg room and it is what it is. That's what you get in Europe. So, that said, the Sous Chef and I booked them to fly us to Porto last week. And we got to Porto on Monday and everything's great. Until 8 o'clock on Monday night, when I get a text from Lufthansa telling me that they've cancelled my flight, our flights coming back home. Fair enough, they've got a strike. And they said, well, we'll get back to you and we'll tell you when we've rebooked you. Bit of a problem because we only have a hotel booking through Friday, but we have nowhere else to be. We can work this out for a couple of days. And people have strikes. I get it. People have equipment failures. But I've learned a long time ago that the time you learn how airlines really are is when things go wrong. So the next day we get an email. It says, well, basically, my synopsis, this strike is very difficult for us. So sorry to hear that, Lufthansa, I'm sure it is. And we've got a lot of people to rebook, so it may take us a while. We'll get back to you. Well, it's over a week now, and I never did hear from them about a rebooking, and I'm still waiting. I ended up having to pay double what I paid for our round trip tickets to get us back home to our English home on Air France via Charles de Gaulle. And I have to say, while it was on an Embraer 190, which is not my favourite aircraft, I was left with a very good impression of Air France. Not only were they either early or on time, cabin service was great for a small aircraft and they did a good job. They also got us home, which is more than Lufthansa did. And what I don't forgive with Lufthansa is basically just completely stiff-arming us. We never heard from them, not a word. So, when I get home, I do what a lot of people do. Go to the internet, check Reddit. Guess what? This seems to be Lufthansa's MO. And there was an article about them in the Daily Telegraph, a major English newspaper. And I read the comments. Guess what? Basically, Lufthansa stiff arms its customers. It doesn't follow up. And there was even one case where people were promised compensation and they never got it. and had to really make a fuss to get anything back off Lufthansa. What's the long and the short of this? You know, here was an airline that had worked to get a good reputation with me, and they've completely blown it. All they had to do was what I did, rebook us on another airline. But they didn't want to do that, obviously, because they didn't want to spend the money. I won't forget that. And I hope if you are considering travel anywhere to Europe or around Europe, that you will remember this story. I'd suggest you avoid Lufthansa. And by the way, I take no pleasure in having to make a film like this, but I think it's important that people know how air carriers behave when things don't work out. I'm sorry, it's not a happy note, but you know, we had a great time on Air France, we had a great time in Porto. I'm going to wait till I get back to the States where I've got my full editing set up to do the sections on our visits to vineyards in the Douro Valley and tastings at Kopka in Porto, and those are worth watching. I hope if you have any interest in Portuguese wines and port, you'll look out for those. So with that, Lufthansa notwithstanding, life's good. Let's enjoy it together in our kitchens. Take care and have a great day.